Fuzzle Bukkit.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fuzzle Bukkit. I'm Kenny, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for stopping by. Now that I got the shameless plug out of the way, I promised a priest deck, and here it is. It's not necessarily my priest deck. I had to borrow a lot of ideas from Hearthstone and some forum reading. I've been working on trying to make an effective priest deck for a while. I've tried the rush deck. It doesn't work. And if you figure out how to make a priest rush deck, please let me know, because I will be playing the hell out of that deck. But it's just not in the cards, quite literally. So, it's a mid-range control deck. Credit goes to whoever built this deck. I can't exactly remember. I made a few minor changes, but essentially the deck idea came from someone else. It's very effective at climbing the ladder right now, although I'm only at rank 18. Started over, you know, we had the reset. But I can tell you, I was at rank 12 before the reset, and this deck was doing really good, and I was still able to climb up slowly, which we all know is the ladder grind. So, let's look at the deck real quick, shall we? Alright, so here we have the mid-control deck. There's the mana curve. Quick look at that. So let's get into the cards here. We've got 2 Circle of Healings, 2 Holy Smites, 2 Power Word Shields, 2 Northshire Clerics, an Acidic Swamp Ooze, a Pyromancer, Shadow Word Death, Thoughtsteal, 2 of them, 1 Big Game Hunter, an Earthen Ring Farseer, 2 Injured Blademasters, 2 Soulpriests, 2 Defenders of Argus, a Spellbreaker, 2 Holy Novas, a Faceless Manipulator, a Holy Fire, 2 Shadow Priests, Ragnaros, and Mind Control. Now, how do I play this deck? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me go over this real quick. So, the Circle of Healing is here. Restores 4 health to all minions. That's pretty cool. Careful, it's all minions, including your opponents. This really works well with the Injured Blademaster, because he deals 4 damage to himself, so at turn 3 you play your Injured Blademaster, 0 cost Circle of Healing, he's back up to a 4/7 at turn 3. Slick. This is a really staple card in this particular deck. It's a card that you want to choose or mulligan into as your starting hand. Regardless of deck you're going against, Injured Blademaster is a safe pick. More so if you can get a Injured Blademaster and Circle of Healing in your initial hand. But there's another reason why we run Circle of Healing, and that's because of the Soul Priest. It becomes essentially a 4 cost if you're playing them on the same turn. A 4 cost Flame Strike. Again, it's a 4 cost Flame Strike that hits your minions and your opponents, so careful with that one. But that's another reason why we run the Circle of Healing. The Holy Smite, when is this played? Well, this is taken in your initial hand when you're going up against what you presume to be an aggro deck, because it's a 1 cost. There's not a lot of 1-drop minions in this particular deck, and it helps you with some removal. The Power Word Shield, I actually like to play the Power Word Shield with the Northshire Cleric if I have both in my hand. The Northshire Cleric is a good first turn drop, especially with the Power Word Shield, because of course you're getting the card drop. She becomes a 1/5, and she becomes even more of a magnet for your frost bolts and that type of thing. So it's more of a value card for you to absorb your opponent's higher removal cards. But of course the Northshire Cleric works out really well in certain situations if it plays out to where you can play her with a bunch of damaged minions. Circle of Healing, wow, she's throwing cards in your hand. I've actually filled up my hand, overloaded my hand a few times with the Northshire Cleric and the Circle of Healing, depending on what's going on. She does give you cards if you heal your opponent as well, so keep that in mind. Sometimes that can be an advantage. Acidic Swamp is a pretty staple card. We know how to play this card. It's of course for destroying weapons, but it's a pretty good 2-drop, so keep that in mind. Just on its own. The Wild Pyromancer is something you want to keep in your hand if you're going up against what you presume to be an aggro deck. Especially the other combo with this, of course, is the Holy Smite. So you've got only 3 mana cost to pretty much clear the board. You gotta wait for turn 3 or turn 2 with a coin, but the Wild Pyromancer along with the Holy Smite will really help remove some of those rush minions. The Shadow Word Death is here. Some people prefer 2, some people prefer 1. If you want to run 2, I would recommend getting rid of the Big Game Hunter. I run 1 of each because I like to have that 4/2 on the board as a minion. It's a pretty weak minion. And unfortunately, it has to have 7 attack or more, not 5 or more. But, excuse me, I like to run it as an extra minion on the board. So these 2 are your big removal cards. 2 Thoughtsteals. This is something you probably want to keep in your hand at just about any time. The Priest doesn't have a lot of good cards in their deck, to choose from. We all know this. So, as aggravating as people say this card is, it's actually in line with what a Priest does in this particular setting. They steal your cards to use them against you because they don't have any of their own. I like that effect. So, don't forget the power of the Thoughtsteal. It doesn't always work to your favor, but this is really helpful in just about any situation at any time in the game. Earthen Farseer. So this is a 3/3 with a 3 health back at you. Keep in mind with this particular deck, you can use that restore 3 health to heal your minions. It's very important to keep your minions healed in this particular deck, more so than your own hero health, okay? However, if you have the Soulpriest on the board, the Earthen Farseer becomes a pseudo fire elemental. It does 3 damage to your enemy opponent or your enemy minions. That's also a really cool trick. There's only one of these. It'd be nice to run 2, but running 2 just doesn't quite fit into the deck. Mess around with it if you want. If you can figure out how to get 2 Earthen Farseers and not lose any effectiveness in the deck, great. The meta does shift as you go up and down the ladder. So perhaps at certain times you can get rid of a big game hunter and put in an Earthen Farseer. That's just an example. This card is questionable depending on what you're seeing. Injured Blademasters we've talked about. Pick that one in your first hand all the time, or mulligan into it. Soulpriest, of course. I've noticed that 3/5, that 5 health is really key to this card. One, it turns your hero power into a 2 damage. You can target anything with the hero power, a 2 damage removal. But 2, it puts a 3/5 on the board, and that 5 is kind of a pain for your opponent to deal with, that 5 health. Just kind of a sweet spot. So run 2 of these. Defender of Argus is here because, well, we need taunts. You're going to take a lot of damage playing this deck. That's okay, because what does the Priest do? He heals. But in lieu of healing, you can also put up a few taunts. 1 Spellbreaker. The 4-cost Spellbreaker puts a 4/3 on the board versus the 2-cost Ironbeak Owl, which is a 2/1. So as far as the silence effect is concerned, they both do a silence. If all you want is to silence a minion, you might want to run the 2-cost. However, that 2/1 Ironbeak Owl is really weak on the board. And you don't normally use a silence early game, you use it late game. So in late game, a 2/1 on the board is just, what? Yeah, doesn't do anything for you. At least that 4/3 puts a little bit more of a beefy minion on the board. That's why I choose Spellbreakers over Ironbeak Owls, and I like it in this deck. 2 Holy Novas. Great card. Deals 2 damage to all enemies and heals your minions and yourself for 2 damage. It's a pretty staple in all Priest decks. Keep in mind, if you run this with a Soul Priest, it's doing 2 damage to the entire board. So it might be your only option, but remember that. Faceless Manipulator. This is great because, again, Priests don't have a lot of good cards. So they copy things. They steal things. Don't run any mind games or any mind vision or anything like that. Just the Thoughtsteals. And the reason why is because for 3 mana, you're getting 2 cards. Mind vision, you're only getting, it's a 1-for-1 trade. The Faceless Manipulator copies anything. Now, in my case, I can copy a Ragnaros. That's pretty bamf, if you ask me. But there's any other legendary or any other big card that's on the table that you want to copy. That's what that's there for. The Holy Fire is nice. At one time, I ran 2 Holy Fires. Only 1 is actually more effective because for 6 mana, it's expensive. It's a 5 damage removal card is really what it is, and it heals you. But if you're constantly having to depend on the Holy Fire and spending 6 mana per turn, that means you're behind and you're probably going to lose anyway. So it's a little bit of a tempo change if you need a removal. You know, your Shadow Word Death is gone, your Big Game Hunter is gone. Well, you can still do 5 damage this way. You get 5 health back too, that's pretty cool. But it's strictly there for more of a removal card, not something... When I was running 2, it was more like I depended on that Holy Fire to keep me alive. And you're just behind the power curve. I hope that made sense. But yeah, 1 Holy Fire, don't run 2. The Shadow Priest, this is a point of contention. Some people don't like this card at all. Some people say, oh, we should only run 1. Again, it's 6 mana, but it has that 5 health. It seems to be a really magic number when opponents are dealing with priests. That 5 health is just a pain in the butt. Now, the 2 attack or less is like, oh, what do I want for, you know, for 2 attack? What? Okay, well, keep in mind a Harvest Golem is 2 attack, and that's a 2/3. That's pretty slick. And it has a Death Rattle, so it becomes a 2/1 afterwards. It's essentially a 4/4 card. Now, the reason why this is, it's 6 mana, so it seems a little expensive, but what you're doing is you're stealing a minion with 2 attacks. So for 6 mana, you're getting 2 cards. In the case of a Harvest Golem, you're now getting a 6/8, essentially. You're 4/5 plus your 2/3 on the board. Now, in that particular case, you're also getting another 2/1 after that. But it's there because you're getting 2 cards for the cost of 1. And that's the key to playing this card, and that's why I run 2, because it really swings the tempo. First of all, it doesn't give your opponent a minion target to buff up had they, you know, had that in mind. And 2, it changes the number count on the board in your favor greatly by having, you know, 2 and then he has 0, essentially. Or what was in place of what you stole. Man, my explanations this morning are just... if you don't understand what I'm saying, let me know in the comments below. I'll explain it better later. I can go over this deck again, but let's just get through this and get into some playtesting. Ragnaros. Karen Bloodhoof is actually more popular in this deck. I prefer Ragnaros. 1, because well, I don't have Karen. I don't know why I don't have Karen. I just haven't built that card. And 2, I feel more comfortable playing Ragnaros. He's a little bit more situational, but I feel he is much more effective, and I'm comfortable playing with Ragnaros, and I know the situations when I should and should not play him. Those situations generally are around the fact that your opponent doesn't have anything on the board. If he floods the board, Ragnaros is much less effective. And then, of course, we have our mind control, because, well, we are priest. We mind control. That's what we do. It's a little expensive. Use it wisely, but it can really help swing the tide. So let's get into some gameplay and see how this runs out. Versus a mage. Okay, should be interesting match here. Okay, none of the cards we want initially. Great, good start. Pass, pass, pass. Here we go. Now against a mage, it's hard to say. Okay, so the Injured Blademaster is a good pick regardless of the deck you're against, so that's nice. Circle of Healing would also be nice. The Holy Smite's there for early removal, and it may or may not come into play with this particular mage deck. We don't know what he's running yet, so let's see. Coins into...
Hello.
A Sorcerer's Apprentice. Okay. Greetings, and goodbye to your apprentice. Alright. Not playing that game. Turn 3 is our Injured Blademaster. It is Frostbolt bait, unfortunately. It's also a Loot Hoarder ping bait, because we don't have our Circle of Healing to bring him back up. So he's going to be a 4/3. We're going to have to really consider whether or not we want to play that Injured Blademaster. I'm pretty much going to... It's probably going to be a no, because he's going to get the card draw from the Loot Hoarder. He's going to ping. He'll be down to 1 mana, but that's a good value turn for him. So unfortunately, that's not going to be a good play. This... Dang it. And pass the turn. There's going to be a value trade for him if we play the Blademaster or the Pyromancer. So we'll play the Pyromancer. Unfortunately, that Holy Smite that we used earlier is what comes with the Pyromancer. So, alright. If we play the Soulpriest, she goes down to a 3/1 and she's easily pinged but remove. If we play the Blademaster, one mana short of what I really want to do. Alright, so he's back up to a 4/7. Which means both of those have to run into the Blademaster plus... well, he could Fireball now, so... That 7 health should give him something to think about. Let's see, turn 5, what are we going to do? Probably Holy Nova? We could Soulpriest and heal, or in this case, damage. We could Pyromancer with a spell. Yeah, it's probably going to be Holy Nova, based on what the board looks like now. Especially if this stays on the board and is healed. Arcane Missiles. RNG! That's gonna be a ping and running the raid leader in. Oh, that's Value Blademaster there. He cleared the board for us. Nice. Alright, so Holy Nova's not a good option at this point. Don't need it. So, pass the turn. Come on. Come on, you're done. You're done. You're done. Although I don't know what I'm going to be playing. Actually, I do know what I'm going to be playing. Oh, no. That's a spell. I'll play it when I actually need to clear the board. I was going to do the Power Word Shield for the card draw, but I realized that's just a waste of, you know, his effect. So, we'll wait. Secret. Alright. What is that secret? Is it a mirror entity? It is a mirror entity. Alright. This is going to work out well. I think. How do I do this? How do I do this? Is there a way to do this effectively? Heal. Run in. I can't. Shucks. I don't think I can do this without giving him a card. I can clear this, but he's got to be healed first. That's a good play. Well played.
Well played.
You really got me good on this one. There is no way that I can see. Because, yeah, that doesn't remove. That doesn't... Oh, man, 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 man. Oh, man. Yeah, I know. That's so gonna suck. There were several ways to do that. I don't know if that was the best. The way I did that was to get 2 cards out of it. He kind of got me in a bind there where he was going to get 1 card out of it regardless. Circle of Healing would have been nice, but... Arcane Explosion, alright, alright. This mage is being really annoying. Let's see, that's 2. How do I do this? 4. That's 2. That's 3. Well, dang it. Ah, math. That 5 leaves me with 2. That's 1 damage. That's 2 damage. Plus 2 more. That does remove him. Okay. The other cleric comes out. I'm actually going to play her. One of them is a Frostbolt. I guess he could Frostbolt both of them. Turn 7, he could Flame Strike. And he does. Okay. I feel that's pretty fair. A 7 mana cost for just that? Yeah, that's fine. No, thank you. If we play Rag, it gets sheeped, right? If we play the Soulpriest, we have to remember this does 5 damage and 5 damage. And we don't need the health rate now. 4, 5, 6, and then we have 2 mana left over. That sucks. Do we risk? Alright, we're going to play the Rag. It's going to push in 8 damage, and it'll probably get polymorphed. That's fine. I don't see this mage having any way of healing, and we'll play the polymorph game. If he copies it, I have a big game hunter. Took a little bit of a risk, and no polymorph? Really? It's a pretty obvious polymorph target. Oh, Spellbreaker. Okay. You know he's an 8/8 now, right? Interesting. I'm going to steal a Leper Gnome. Because I can. Really? He silences Rag. Do I want to steal a leper gnome, or do I? Yeah.
Let me change your mind.
Still leper gnome, and I'm going to Thoughtsteal. See what this mage is packing. Alright, I got a polymorph. And a fireball. Because I have the fireball, that means I just push in damage. This is why people hate playing against priests, because that Thoughtsteal, you know, oh, he's got a fireball now. That's not fair. It is. It is when you're playing the priest, anyway. Let's see, 2 more. Yeah, we can. We've got 5 and 6. We've got 11 damage. And good game. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the deck. That's a pretty fair showing of what it's capable of. It wasn't the best, you know. There's a lot of combos in this deck that I didn't really get to show you. So if you want to see those combos, let me know, and I'll just keep recording until I show them to you. Maybe I'll do a priest deck combo clip. You know, this is how this deck does all these cool new tricks, right? All right, so thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel because we just had a giveaway, and we're probably going to be doing another one soon. Tell all your friends about us, and I'll see you next time.